So, welcome, Jonathan. It's great to have you on the summit. So, could you just tell me a little bit about Solimar, who you are, and why you guys are so important for those viewers who don't know?
Sure. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Malone McGrew. I'm our Senior Director of Engagement, and that's marketing speak for doing interviews like this, working with our end customers and our partner channels. That is my job, is to manage all those different facets along with our Chief Experience Officer, Marianne Rowan. So that's who I report to. And Solimar is a software company. We're nearly 30 years old. We will be 30 years old in March of next year, so right before Drupa, which will be exciting. And so what we do is print transformations, workflow software. Basically, we take things that come into a print environment, the onboarding all the way through the delivery, and we make things better. We optimize, we manage, we track, we report, we transform. And we've been doing that for a long time. It's a company based out of San Diego, California, but we do a global business, and we have a number of strong partnerships with hardware vendors as well. So we're really well versed in the print industry, and we're starting to expand out into even more types of print. We've been traditionally known more for that kind of bills, statements, letters, all that mail you get around business that you're doing with different financial providers or healthcare or things like that. But we've been expanding more and more over the years into things like labels and packaging. And we have direct mail customers and commercial print customers and implants for education, which you could kind of expect over an evolution of 30 years. So and I grew up in the industry. So for those of you who don't know me, I've literally spent my life from a little one till now in software companies like this, as well as working for a couple hardware people and other software companies that people would know. And I'm on LinkedIn, so you can always check me out.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for that. In the UK, certainly your growth rate and your market share growth has been impressive. So that must be, really underpinned by the performance of your product on the ground. So kind of our first question really is, what production challenges gave rise to the development of this solution by Solimar? And can you just explain a little bit about it?
Sure. So today we're talking about our latest PDF optimization technology called Ready PDF. And I think it's really exciting because we developed it based on direct feedback from our 28-member customer advisory council. So we hold a user conference every year. This year it's a little bit delayed due to the health climate out there, but we expect to still have it in late September now. And what we do is we always bring our customer advisory council in, and we look for feedback. They're printers of all walks of life, some of our best customers over the years. And what came to rise several years ago was that not all PDF is created equal. And you may see our advertising around Got Ugly PDF. And yes, we're giving a nod to some other campaigns out there from the past. But basically what we know is that not all composition systems or ways that you create, engaging communications, whether it be wide format or labels or other things I've mentioned like letters and transactional, that PDF is not always clean, and our print engines don't always like them. And so things happen like processing times get extended, things like that. Print quality is not what you expect. And a lot of the pre-flight software out there doesn't correct. It lets you know there's a problem, but then there are still some things that you have to do manually to fix that. And so we had a lot of complaints from our customers that it was just costing a lot of time in production in all sorts of different kinds of print. And so our goal was to create a product that specifically went in and even an automated lights out way, not only checked the files, the PDF files, but made them better, and then made them run cleanly through the print devices that they were supposed to go to.
Yeah, that's so critical. Just a small anecdote from my own experience is that working in a publishing house for 10 years, we moved from a commercial printer that was more antiquated, very good, but more antiquated in the terms of its file checking process. And, probably every fourth run that we put out, there was color inconsistency issues, sometimes even page layout issues. And there was almost nothing we could do about that. We just had to kind of accept it. But that's why we then moved to another bigger commercial print house that had a system such as you've described in place. And what happened was amazing overnight, because the job simply couldn't go to press until it was right. And they would keep bouncing it back to us and go, no, there's this issue or that issue that our designers had missed. And when it went to press, finally, obviously they were far more automated. This was without any human interaction from their point of view. The result was fantastic for us and also for them. So, it's really important issue.
Right. Yeah. And we totally agree. And that's why we went on this path to kind of fill what we saw as a gap in the market. And what we think is really impressive, Brennan, is that this product can sit around other things that you already have in place. It can be a standalone product, kind of a pre-press kind of server, or it can actually integrate into our larger suite of the chemistry platform that we have of workflow tools that run the gamut of that onboarding all the way to delivery and enhancement that I mentioned before when I was introducing Solimar. So we've tried to make it flexible, and we're developing all the time. We're taking in customer feedback and improving it, because we really only brought the first versions of the software out last fall. So it's been really exciting to watch it be used, and the uptake's been incredible.
So the next really key question I've got is, how does ReadyPDF Prepress Server overcome those core challenges? And what are the product's main sort of USPs and strengths, do you think?
That's a perfect question. So ReadyPDF, as the prepress server, as the standalone version, what's so exciting about that is that it can go into any environment that does printing, and especially if you're PDF focused. But even if you're not and you need to stabilize to PDF, we can help with that. But ReadyPDF's key capabilities, the things that we really heard from our customers, are things like embedded fonts. A lot of PDFs have fonts in them, but maybe they have subsetted fonts, or only part of the font family has been put in by the designer. And they may not even know that they've created it that way. It could be a legacy way that particular software is working. But what happens is you get bad print quality, or you get the font dropout where you only get certain characters, or you go to update the file after it's composed and you don't have enough of the fonts to change anything. So what we can do with ReadyPDF is we can not only flag and warn that there's a font problem, we can actually correct it. And you can do all of that in a templatized, automated fashion, which means that you can basically set up your different kinds of work that come in regularly and run it through even a default ReadyPDF optimization process that will then catch all these things and improve the PDF file. And then if you were to have an exception, you could have additional processing and exception processes in the software to do even more. To do even more. But that font thing is critical. We think that is we've seen with our customers already some great improvements on their files. It's enabled people to start using their presses even more efficiently already, and the quality to be correct. The other thing that ReadyPDF can do that we think is really powerful is look at the structure, the stuff you don't see under the underlying PDF. You look at a viewer, and there's a whole bunch of that PDF you don't see in the code, but there could be X objects that are empty that have been placed there for whatever reason, taking up space, that just make this file bigger. We can go in and clean all that up. We can flatten transparencies and do some advanced control on that, color space mitigation. If people are trying to take a file that has multiple color spaces and bring it into one that's tuned to their print engine, their digital print engine or press, we can do all of those things in this new software. And we think those are really the key. It's making the file size smaller and more manageable, but also the fonts. And then we can also do output, or create output, I should say, for multiple destinations in one basic processing step. So another problem we see with our customers is they want to send stuff to print, but they might also have an e-channel, some sort of digital channel. It might be an archive or a portal that customers are logging into, or they might be sending stuff to an app, to display. All sorts of things you could do, email. And a lot of customers are using the same size PDF file to go to print as they are to go to these e-channels, because they don't have time to create multiple versions of the file. And we can do that all in an automated process, and you can set it all up so that you kick out multiple types, and then you can divert them in your workflow. And we think it's really powerful. We've seen some of our larger customers already adopt it and see some great improvements. So we're really, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this, because we think that PDF is really the standard of communication around the world at this point.
Yeah. It's certainly something that we rely on for all of our communication, so it's vital. So why do you think the launch of this product will be beneficial for the wider industry? And, particularly in this current climate where all of these trends and transitional trends that have been happening in our industry that might have played out over the next 5 to 10 years have really been pushed down into this tiny little segment, where a lot of those trends are going to happen in the next 6 months, to 12 months. What's the importance for you?
Well, I think, again, another really great question, and the times certainly are driving a lot of new requirements. So, we're working more remotely. We're sending, I think, more things electronically than we have in the past. And that can be difficult because, honestly, not all print shops, not all businesses are set up to do these things. As I said, to optimize for E is difficult if you don't have workflow processes to help you. So what we see as important is that Ready PDF will allow you to use the people you have available to optimize things and get more work done faster. The whole key is to make the print engine run as smooth as possible, to make your workflow from the time you bring work into the shop all the way to the time you deliver that to your customer as smooth as possible and as fast as possible with high quality, right? And our background is high variability, transactional work, and then we've expanded out from there. So we have that legacy of understanding critical data and timelines, and we built that into this product. But it can be used in all sorts of ways to deliver your customers, that e-experience in an optimized PDF that doesn't take up lots and lots of room in their inbox, so that what you print and you might still be mailing to some people or delivering by hand can also go to an e-channel at a much smaller size. The other thing I think that's really important about this is that automation, and the fact that it can be set up virtualized. You can log in to your environment through a virtual machine, or you can have it running, virtualized in a spun up, AWS kind of environment. And you can manage it from afar if you have to, because we're talking about all electronic files before it actually goes to a press. One other thing I'd like to mention is, security is key today, right? And so for our customers that are concerned about what's in their print files, sometimes print files can really cause us problems. And when we're trying to diagnose them, there's issues. And we want to send them to be diagnosed even by vendors like Solimar. But we're concerned about that data that's in them. And there's laws that prevent us maybe from even sharing those files. In Ready PDF, there's also an obfuscation, or basically in layman's terms, it jumbles all the data that's there, but leaves it in the fields for testing. So it randomizes everything. There's no pattern, but what it can do is help someone take all that personalized data out quickly, but leave the structure and the images and all the other things in the file that are problematic, that are causing them print problems. And it can also let you diagnose if the data is the problem, because if you obfuscate it and it's still causing problems, that there might be something upstream. And all of this is in an effort to create the best print file and e-file available for the environment so that people can get more done faster and do it with less touch, less in-person manipulation.
Yeah, that's key. Well, just the last thing then before we move to the question and answer session from some of the very good questions that have been coming in about this is there's a big issue, at least in the UK, which would be interesting to hear if it's the same stateside, is that there are lots of graphic designers coming into the industry, lots of people working in print rooms, but also in marketing and design companies who are dealing with clients, and their whole skill set is designing for digital, not necessarily designing for print. And if they want to make the leap into being able to design for print with a normal print service provider, it's quite a big skill set that they have to add to do that effectively. Do solutions like this help with that skills transition where more people aren't being trained from the bottom up in specifically, print processes and layout?
I think it can, and I think there are other products in our suite as well that people could look at to help enhance some of those things that they might need to adjust, because we can do full enhancement to something that's already designed, and take that print stream and adjust it and make it more optimal. But with Ready PDF specifically, what we can do is things like that color space conversion is a big problem in a digital design space that you're then trying to take to print. So we can optimize for that. That we can warn that there's just like a prepress kind of activity. We can warn that the file or the layout of it, the images in it are low res. We could set some alerts in it. So there's a type of alerting that can go on, and there's all of the logging and the error reporting that goes with this kind of software. But the other thing it can do is it can downsample. But if a designer has just placed the file and constricted it, like in the design software. So I used to do a lot of graphic design in another life. And so what I know is you can place a 600 DPI file into some of these design softwares, but then tell it to render it, in display at a lower DPI. If that image data is in the file, in the PDF at a higher size, which is generally why your file size would be much bigger than you would expect, we can actually upsample it again as well with Ready PDF. So there's a lot of things I think that can help with that digital transition. Again, digital designers might not be trying to manage the fonts either. Fonts are my mom always said they were a 4-letter word, because I come from the industry, and I think she's right. They are tricky items, and if you don't get them right, they just cause a lot of time to be spent. That was even true when we were typesetting back in the day, I guess. But now that it's digital, we really have to make sure all those bits and bytes are there. So I hope that kind of answers how it can help. Really, it's all about optimizing to me. It's all about making sure the file is meant for the right channel and is the right size, because your storage costs are the other things we look at. We see vendors, when they put print size things into an e-archive system that's only meant for e-display, you're talking about terabytes when you get into months and months of data, and it's expensive. And, there's an environmental impact to all that computing hardware as well.
Fantastic. Okay, well, now we'll move over to the question and answer session that have been coming in. Thanks very much, Jonathan.